Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I am going to try to get through this Q&A that I promised clear back at Christmas time. It's been a few weeks and I have some questions that people have asked. I just have not had time to sit down and video this. We have just been swamped, crazy busy, and so I haven't had time to do this, but I'm going to try to do it right now. I am working on decluttering some things. I've got a whole bag of clothes that needs to go. It's been sitting here for quite a while and it's got stuff piled on top of it that needs to go to the thrift store. I'm going to declutter through my shoes and through my other stuff here in my bedroom. And I'm just trying to get rid of some things that have been sitting here that I have not used in the entire year and a half that we've lived here. So I'm gonna do that while I am chatting with you and answering these questions. The first one, first question is, how much longer does your husband have in seminary, and will you be moving back to Colorado, or do y'all have another destination in mind? Okay, so how much longer? My husband has 5 semesters left, so that's about 2.5 years. And we honestly right now have no idea where we will be going once he graduates. We do have ideas of where we might want to go. We just don't really know for sure yet where we will be going. We could possibly go back to Colorado. We also have thought of going to Utah, and we have thought of possibly staying here. We have thought of maybe going to Wyoming, mainly places that we have lived before that we enjoyed living at. We have considered going back to them, but we really don't have any idea. We do talk about it quite often, and just different pros and cons of places, but we really ultimately do not know where the Lord is going to take us, so we are just patiently waiting and being diligent and faithful where we are right now. And then we'll see what the Lord does in 2.5 years where he puts us at. So, all right, next question. Let's see. Do your children also want big families one day? How many bedrooms do you have? How many people are in each bedroom? So, our bedrooms in this house, we've got the neighbor's car alarms going off. In this house, we have 3 bedrooms, and so we've got mine and Austin's room. The boys have a room and the girls have a room. So the girls have 3 people in their bedroom. The boys have got 4 people in their bedroom. My husband has built some bunk beds in the boys' room. So my husband built the 3 bunk beds, and then my oldest son has got his own kind of little nook in the back with his own bed. The girls each have a loft bed, and so they each have their own bed in their bedroom, and their bedroom actually is fairly large, so it fits well to have the 3 loft beds in there. The boys' room is a little bit more crowded, but they don't seem to mind at all. They really like being down in the basement, and they don't mind at all. It's their whole lives they have had to share a room with people, and sometimes even a very crowded room. So they don't mind sharing, they don't mind the small space. It's kind of what they're used to and what they know. So as for, do my kids want to have big families one day? I don't know. I know they want to have children. I know my oldest daughter is married. They do want to have kids, but they're waiting a little while. If anyone was going to have lots of kids, I could see maybe Cadence. She loves babies, and she loves taking care of them and playing with them, and little kids love her to death, and so she possibly could be one that might have a large family. She did say one time, though, she was going to have a house full of cats. She's going to adopt all of the cats that she could find because she loves cats too. And my oldest daughter at one point said, this was many years ago, she was going to have 26 children so she could name them all with 1 letter of the alphabet, going in alphabetical order. I don't think that will happen now. I think she maybe would say 4 kids is what she said before, but I don't know. We will see how many kids they each end up. It'll be fun no matter what. Lots of grandbabies. I would be happy with that. What are some ways you and your husband encourage good sibling relationships in your home? I've read this question before and I kind of like drew a blank. Like, how do we do that? I don't even know. So I was talking to my husband about it, And really it's just daily discipleship and reminding them to love their neighbor as their self. Reminding them that their brother and sister are their neighbor. It doesn't have to be a person across the street. It doesn't have to be the friend down the road. Our neighbors are the people we live with, and God calls us to love them as we would love ourselves. He calls us to love Him with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. And so we encourage them in that often. I do try to talk to them sometimes about how they can serve their brothers and sisters. The older kids right now are working on a paper of how to be generous, and so I was asking them what's something that you could be generous with even within your own family. And so just giving them ideas with that. They play together a lot because they are home together 24/7. And just the daily constant reminding them to love one another. We also do encourage them that friendships, childhood friendships, it is possible that they can last their entire lifetime. I do understand that. My oldest son's best friend is my oldest daughter's now brother-in-law. And so most likely their friendship will last their entire life. But a lot of the other kids, young kids, just reminding them that their friends may not always be their friends. I currently only am in contact with one person I went to school with for my whole life, and that's because she is married to my husband's cousin. And so we still talk to one another, we still see each other, but the rest of my friends, I don't talk with them, I'm not in contact with them, but I still talk to my sisters, and I still talk to my brother. So just to encourage them in that their family is going to be there forever. They always are going to have their family. Their friends, they may not always have, and so just to encourage them in their friendships to be kind to one another, spend time together, serve one another, love one another. So that is my short answer. It is a daily battle to constantly remind them of those things, and I feel like a broken record a lot, and I have to tell myself it's okay to feel like a broken record. It's okay to be a broken record, because I need to be reminded of things so often, and my kids even more so, especially the ones that are not saved. They need to be reminded of these things also. Where do you find the energy to do all you do? Are you planning on having any more children? When your husband graduates seminary, will you move back to Colorado? What are the negatives to doing carnivore diet? Alright, so to find the energy to do what I do, I attribute a lot of that to the carnivore diet. I used to fall asleep in the afternoons while trying to read to the kids, or having the kids try to read to me to get school done. I would fall asleep in the chair. And I do not do that anymore. I haven't done that for several months because of the way that we eat is what I attribute it to. I don't eat a lot of carbs. I eat mainly following the carnivore diet. I do a little bit of a dirty carnivore diet now with things like pickles or sugar-free ketchup, mustard, sugar-free barbecue sauce. I just ate one of the girls made some cookies. I decided to have one of their cookies. Every once in a while I will have things that are not on the carnivore diet, but for the most part I follow a pretty strict, probably 95% of the time, carnivore diet. And I would say that is why I have the energy that I do, and I am awake all day long. When it's about 9:30 is when I start to get tired, and I have tried to go to bed as soon as I'm tired. That's another thing that I have learned for myself, is that as soon as I'm tired and it is a bedtime, I need to go to bed, because I will eventually get over that bedtime and I will have another energy spurt, and then I'll have a hard time falling asleep, and that will just throw my whole cycle off. Something else that I do is I try not to drink caffeine. I did drink some caffeine today. I had some coffee from this morning and from McDonald's. I had an iced coffee for lunch, another non-carnivore item that I sometimes have. But caffeine drains my adrenal glands pretty quickly, and so I try to stay away from it for the most part. And that also helps me to have more energy. It is quite amazing. So many people say that caffeine helps them to stay awake. I know that is true for some people. My husband, that is the case for him. He needs caffeine in the afternoon to stay awake. He's a lot better than he used to be, but caffeine does not keep me awake. It just drains my adrenal glands, and then I get more tired and more exhausted, and so I try to stay away from caffeine as well. Let's see, what else? Other questions. Are we planning on having any more children? We do not plan on having any more children. It is not in our plans. If the Lord grants us more children, we would be happy about that. But right now we have no plans as for having more babies. I think about adoption often. My husband and I have talked about it, but right now that is just not in our plans. So no more kiddos for us. Negatives to doing the carnivore diet. I think the negatives to the carnivore diet are when you go to someone else's house to eat dinner, and when we go, we don't want to make our hosts feel like we are not thankful for them serving us the way that they do. I struggle with this even when we go to my in-laws' house. My mother-in-law serves us so well when we are there, and I want to be able to enjoy what she feeds us, but I also don't want to feel terrible the entire time we're there. I know what certain foods make me do and how they make me feel, and I know that if I eat them too much for too long amount of time, I will get sick. And I don't want that to happen, and so sometimes I do have to say, I'm sorry, I can't have that, I need to eat this, and I'm totally willing to cook my own food. But that's one thing, not being able to enjoy, or limited amount of enjoyment when you are at someone else's house. When you go out to eat at a restaurant, it's pretty easy to follow the carnivore diet. If anything, you can just order hamburger patties and not eat the bun, which is what we do often. Another thing is traveling is a bit difficult. With our family being so large, when we have tournaments on basketball weekends, we have to go stay at a hotel or whatever. My go-to is to take sandwiches, and that's kind of a hard thing to do when you're on the carnivore diet. There's only a certain number of things that you can take with you as travel food, and keep it cheap and not as expensive. McDonald's is fairly cheap for eating out. That's where my husband and I go every week, but we also can't afford to do that for every meal when we are gone. So my options are limited on the carnivore diet when we are out and about traveling, especially if I don't have refrigeration. That makes it even harder. So those are probably the negatives. Another thing, at the very beginning, you get pretty tired of eating meat, especially if you go strict carnivore for like the first 30 days or whatever. My husband and I went almost completely strict carnivore for the first 6 months, and I got to a point that I just wanted to puke even at the thought of eating a piece of meat. So I got over that after a couple days of not eating anything. I was hungry enough that I started eating it again, and then I got to the point where I just craved it and I want meat, and that's what I like to eat. So I can't really think of any other negative things for the carnivore diet. There's not really anything that I don't enjoy about it now, but I also can be a little bit more flexible compared to some other people. Cannot be nearly as flexible as I am. I can get sick from eating too much food that my body doesn't agree with, but I have to eat it several days in a row, a lot of it. Where I do know that there are some people who, people with diabetes or something, they eat one thing and it can just spike their blood sugar and make them real sick. So yeah, I don't think there's not really any other negatives for me right now. It says, how do you budget the holidays and your monthly budget on one income? I was just discussing this with my friend. Yes, I was discussing this with my friend. I am not, in my whole adulthood, budgeting has been something I struggle with, my husband and I both. I feel like it would be much easier to budget if I was one person. I got one paycheck, I only had to spend money on myself. That would be really easy. But I am not one person, and Austin and I both spend the money, and we have now 7 children in our house that we have to spend money on. And things pop up, things come up, and it is hard to budget for those things. So my first tip for budgeting would be to pay off your debt. We are completely debt-free except for this house, and actually this house here in Kansas City we own. We paid cash for this house here, but we did that because we took a mortgage out on our house in Colorado. So we do have a mortgage that we pay every month. That is our only debt that we have. We are completely debt-free besides our mortgage, and that has been a tremendous blessing for us. That has completely set us free with our finances. We still are very limited on our income. I think we do make below the poverty level of money, My husband brings in below the poverty level for the amount of people in our household. And yet the Lord is so gracious to us to provide everything that we need and a lot of things that we don't need, things that we just want. We struggle still with spending every month, just like probably everyone else does, because everybody does that I've talked to. You overspend, things come up, you have to dip into your savings, you wonder how you're gonna pay this bill whenever you spent all your money on whatever. Groceries cost 3 times more than you thought they would. We struggle with that. I do keep track of our finances. I try every week to write down everything we spent that week, be really diligent in writing down our expenses. I keep track when bills come out of our checking account. I have almost everything set up on auto pay so I don't forget to pay things, because that is a problem. I have done that in the past. And honestly, I keep track of what we're spending after we've already spent it. And so we usually buy everything on our credit card, and then we pay our credit card off at the end of the month, or every month we pay our credit card off. We have done that for years and it has worked well for us, but it could become a problem if we're not paying a lot of attention to how much money we're actually spending, and then we get our credit card bill and it's way more than we have to pay it off, and so that could be a problem. So keeping track of expenses is another big thing if you're struggling with staying within your budget. Christmas time budget, we kind of just pick an amount at that year. Each year is different, and decide how much we want to spend on each kid. Usually each kid gets the same amount of money spent on them. And then we just buy, older kids. This year, our one son got 2 gifts because his gifts were a little more expensive compared to the younger kids. Maybe got 4 or 5 gifts because theirs are a little bit less expensive. So we just set a budget amount of money that we're going to spend that year on Christmas, and that is what we spend, and we try not to go over that. So that's how we budget for our Christmas, and then we just use what we have. We thankfully do still have quite a bit of savings, money saved up from before we came to seminary, and so we have used some of that. We've dipped into it quite a bit, but we still have some left, and so we use that. And also the Lord just provides for us. I don't even know what else to say besides God providing money for us, because that's what happens every single month. On our paperwork, it does not add up. We shouldn't be able to pay our bills and pay off our credit card and buy these things, and yet we can every single month because the Lord is kind to us. That's all I can say. I don't know what else to say besides he helped us pay off our debt. That was not us, that was totally him. Debt that we thought we would have for the rest of our lives, and we were able to pay it off. And then just by him providing things, random things. I don't know if any of you have watched my finance story. I will tell you one story about that. My husband was working with a guy in Colorado who spent some time at an airport that was in a different town than where we lived. And he said, I have this trailer. It's been sitting at the airport for years. It needs to get off of there. You come and move it. You can have the trailer. You can have whatever is inside of the trailer for free. Just get it off. Take it away. So Austin's like, okay, I'll go get it. So he went, got it, brought it back to our house. And my brain the whole time is like, oh, we don't need this trailer. What are we going to do with this? It's going to be full of junk. That's just my thoughts. That's how I think about those things. And he doesn't. He sees them as an opportunity. And this time it really was. It was a good choice. A good thing to do. So he brings this trailer home, and we had some friends. They were going to take the trailer because it didn't have a title. So he was going to take the trailer, get a lost title, file for a lost title, get the title for it. But we needed to clean it out first. And so we got it open, and inside there was GM car parts, brand new in the boxes. 66, 67, 68, 69 GM car parts. They were for Camaros and Corvettes and all kinds of sports cars. And there were so many car parts in there that were still brand new in the boxes. And so we were able to sell those. We did some selling on eBay the first time. We made about $4,000 doing that. And then I got tired of shipping and doing all that, and so we just decided to list it, the whole lot, everything, for sale. And we were able to sell the entire thing for $10,000 plus a truck, an old truck. So we took the old truck, took the $10,000, the guy came, got all the parts, and then we took the truck, got it, made sure everything was good on it, and then we sold the truck for $5,000. So we made $15,000, $19,000 total off of this free trailer that my husband brought home from the airport. That nobody knew what was in there. It had been sitting there for like, I don't know, a really long, years, a long, long, long time. So anyway, just things like that the Lord provided for us through to be able to get our debt paid off. That was one of our goals before we moved here for seminary, was to come debt-free besides a mortgage. So I really don't have a lot of tips and tricks. I can tell you a lot of things. I've done a lot of research. I've watched a lot of videos. I know a lot of things about doing it, but the actual practical part of doing it is the hard part for us. So that is our story. I just try to keep up on our expenses and trust that the Lord is going to provide what we need. And He has faithfully done that every single month now for a year and a half that we've been here. And even before that, a long time before that, we have just seen the Lord working through our finances and taking care of us that way. So that is my little finance story, how we budget. We don't really budget. Even our grocery budget, I don't necessarily budget. I kind of just get what we need. And if I notice, you know, I spent a lot of money on groceries last month, I will try to spend less the next month. So last month in December, I bought groceries, but we were in Colorado for a lot of the month, and so I didn't have to buy as much groceries, which was really nice. That helped pay for Christmas. This month I'm trying to do a little bit of a pantry clean out, so I have gone shopping once. I'm going to have to go again in a couple days, but I'm going to get a small amount, probably just refrigerator food and any like household items that we need, and try to keep my spending lower this month to help get our pantry cleaned out and catch back up after Christmas. Alright, so that is it for my Q&A. If you have any more questions, leave them down in the comments for me. Maybe I'll do another one of these videos soon. I got no decluttering done while I was doing that. I was too busy talking to the camera. But I hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.